What's the difference between 上手 and 得意, as well as 下手 and 苦手? Let's find out by looking through some example sentences that are using real Japanese in Japanese video games. So first, let's take a look at 上手.
それにしてもあなた、日本語上手ね。
魚やお花、虫のスケッチばっかり。あなた、絵が上手なのね。へえ、シンジ君料理上手。
犬発見。花の向き確認しろ。
上手に描けてるね。
So, 上手 is an N5 adjective used to describe you being good at something. Generally, it's used to express that someone's ability doing something is very high. They're good at doing something. If you were to look at the kanji, for example, you literally have the first kanji being up and then the second one being hand. And you can think of hand kind of like skill, like I just recently covered in the kanji video for te. And so you can see this as kind of being up in skill, like putting a thumbs up. Now, this is actually a really good example here because thumbs up, you generally use 上手 when you talk about other people's actions. The reason why is because it has a feeling of complimenting someone for their ability, like giving a thumbs up to someone. So just like we saw in these example sentences, the first one from Boku no Natsuyasumi, we see 日本語上手.
それにしてもあなた、日本語上手ね。
You're good at Japanese. A very, very common phrase to say that you are good at Japanese. You're good at something. Something followed by 上手. Again, in Valkyrie Chronicles, we saw that. 絵が上手.
あなた、絵が上手なのね。
You're good at drawing pictures, like you saw in the picture book. In Neon Genesis Evangelion, we see that Shinji-kun is good at cooking. 料理上手.
へえ、シンジ君料理上手。
Finally, we see in Final Fantasy VII Remake that this picture on the wall has been drawn very well. 上手に.
上手に描けてるね。
So in all of these situations, 上手 is used to compliment the person doing that action. And because of this, you don't really use it for yourself. Because you don't usually give a thumbs up to yourself, right? It's kind of weird. That being said though, some people might sometimes do that. They might say that they did something really well by using 上手 with themselves, but it does come across as a little bit arrogant because you are complimenting yourself. So generally, 上手 is used to compliment someone else's ability and skill. So what about 得意? What's the difference?
街を直すのは
おー、そういうのは得意得意大得意。
覚えてるのか。
何も聞いていないのか。シアは秘密を漏らすのが得意だったの。
で
好きに暴れろ。任せろ。そういうのは得意だ。
彼は人の心を操るのが得意よ。スネーク、誘導に引っかからないで。
So, 得意 here is just saying that someone is skilled at doing something. It does not have any feelings of complimenting someone. It is literally just speaking about the result, the skill. According to a Japanese dictionary here, we can actually see that the meaning of this word is for you to receive something going as you thought, as in to do something well. It went as you thought. And there's a connection here with you being satisfied with the results of your action. So, 得意 here can be used both for yourself and others because it doesn't actually have anything to do with complimenting. It doesn't have this kind of egotistical feel that 上手 might have if you used about yourself. It's just saying that you're skilled at doing something. You're able to get those results. So let's take a look at those examples that we just saw. So first we have here from Kingdom Hearts 2, the genie is asked, can he fix the town? And he says that he's very, very good at it. He in fact says, 得意得意大得意.
そういうのは得意得意大得意。
So it means that he's very, very good at it. So here it's just saying that he is sure that he will be able to do that thing well, right? He has a lot of confidence in his ability. He is skilled at doing this. We can see in Star Wars being good at revealing secrets.
シアは秘密を漏らすのが得意だったの。
We can see Zack from Crisis Core saying that he's good at causing a ruckus.
任せろ。そういうのは得意だ。
And we can see in Metal Gear Solid 1 here Naomi talking about Psycho Mantis's ability to manipulate people's hearts, and here she uses 得意.
彼は人の心を操るのが得意よ。
And in all of these uses, tokui does not hold any feeling of complimenting whatsoever, just stating the simple fact that someone's good at doing something. So if you were to think about here in Metal Gear Solid, Psycho Mantis is your enemy. You wouldn't compliment your enemy in saying they're good at doing something. So it'd be weird to use 上手 in that situation because you wouldn't want to compliment your enemy. But you do want to state that they're good at doing something, and so tokui here is what's used. So hopefully that's pretty straightforward. 上手 is used when you're complimenting someone's ability, saying they're good at doing something, and that's why you use it with other people. You may sometimes, very sometimes, see people use it for themselves, but it would be them being a little bit of a pat on the back, being a little bit arrogant, a little bit cocky, and generally in Japanese culture, people try to be a little bit more modest and don't try and talk themselves up, and that's why you wouldn't necessarily talk about your own actions saying, I'm good at doing this, in that same way, because remember, it has that feeling of actually kind of saying thumbs up, you did a good job. Tokui here is used to talk about simply the end result, them being good at getting what they want, them good at doing something, right? So you're skilled at an action. You can use this for someone else's action as well as yourself. One quick note, generally speaking, in Japanese culture, people don't usually compliment themselves. They don't usually say, I'm good at doing this, unless directly asked, like in an interview, for example. However, generally people wouldn't talk about their own skill like that. They would find some other kind of roundabout way of saying it, right? And so generally when you speak about your own actions, you might not necessarily say, I'm good at doing this, right? People like to be a little bit more modest. However, if you need to, tokui would be the one for you. Okay, so now what about the kind of opposite meanings? There's heta and nigate. What's the difference between those two? Let's first take a look at some examples of heta being used.
画期的な軍事技術の開発者がこんなに可愛い女の子とは思わなかったもんでね。
スネークったらお世辞は下手ね。
ご飯も作れないし、洗濯も下手だけど、優しくて時々怖いけど、お父さん好き。
僕らには関係ないよ。
怖いんでしょあんた。友達作るの下手だもんね。
別に。
くそ。バカ野郎。嘘が下手すぎるんだよ。
And so heta is pretty straightforward. It's just saying a lack of skill. And you can kind of think of this being the opposite of 上手, right? How up hand, 上手, down hand, heta, right? Saying you're not good at something. So this is all talking about lacking the skill doing something. Like how we saw here in Metal Gear Solid, Snake being bad at flattery.
スネークったらお世辞は下手ね。
And here in Persona 4 with Nanako saying that her father is bad at doing clothes washing.
ご飯も作れないし、洗濯も下手だけど。
And here in Neon Genesis we see Asuka saying that Shinji is bad at making friends.
友達作るの下手だもんね。
And finally here saying that someone is bad at lying.
嘘が下手すぎるんだよ。
Now, with heta, you can use this for yourself because it's totally okay to say that you're not good at something, right? That's actually being modest. So it's no problem at all. You can use heta to say that you are not good at something. This is in fact the best word for you to use. So how is it different to nigate? Well, nigate is a little bit different. Let's take a look at some examples and see how nigate is used.
カクテルパーティーは苦手だ。つまらない口先だけのやつらで溢れてる。
足立さんは怖いんだよ。高級店ってのが苦手なんだろ。
僕が科学や研究に逃避したのは人付き合いが苦手だったから。人が怖かった。
知ってるでしょ。我慢するのは苦手なの。
So while nigate appears to be the opposite form of tokui, it does actually hold some very big differences in the way that it is similar to other words. If we have a look at nigate here for the kanji, we can see the first kanji shows some level of anguish, pain, trouble. And this is really important because some synonyms for nigate is things like skijanai, you don't like, or even kirai, you hate something. Whereas synonyms for heta would be more like dekinai, you can't do something, right? It's more talking about the skill. But nigate actually more has a feeling of the fact that you don't like something. You're not good with something. You don't like it. And this is the biggest difference between heta and nigate. So like here in Detroit Become Human, we see that the character says that they're bad at cocktail parties. This doesn't mean that they're not skilled at cocktail parties, it actually means that he doesn't like them. Again, in Yakuza 7, we can see that the character is saying that you're not good with kind of high-class buildings. So you don't like being in them. Maybe you feel uncomfortable, for example. We see it here in the ending of Metal Gear Solid 1 with Otacon saying that he is bad at kind of socializing with people. So he doesn't actually like it. And even here in Witcher 3 saying that they're not good at kind of holding themselves back.
我慢するのは苦手なの。
And so the main difference with heta and nigate is heta is simply talking about the lack of skill, whereas nigate is showing this kind of lack of liking something, being bad in something because they don't enjoy it. And so just remember that you can kind of see this difference with the kanji themselves, down in skill or actually kind of having trouble doing something. It's not for them, they don't like it. And so there you have it. That is the difference between Jouzu and Tokui. Jouzu is talking about the fact that someone's good at something, but it does have an air of complimenting, and that's why you wouldn't use it for yourself. Tokui is just talking about the results that you get, you're satisfied with. So Tokui is saying that you're good at doing something. It can be used for both yourself and other people. Just keep in mind that generally you don't really talk about yourself too much. Complimenting yourself does come across as a little bit not so nice in Japanese culture. People tend to be a little bit more modest, so you might not use it too much. Heta is used to say that you lack the skill, so you're not good at something, a very, very useful piece of language. And then nigate is the same thing, but more about you not liking something. So you could use that, for example, with food and all kinds of stuff to say, I'm not really good at it. And this is actually kind of a softer way of saying kirai, you hate something, right? You're saying, oh, I'm not so good at that. So hopefully this video has helped you master these 4 pieces of language and help you see how they're different and how you use them in different contexts. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. A huge thank you to all the supporters on Patreon. If you want to join us on the Game Gengo Discord community, then consider supporting us on Patreon. And as always, I'll see you all again in the next video. See ya.